Hey guys, it's Hima here, and I've got Chart of the Week China Trade Index stocks to watch for you. Today's Wednesday, January 15th, 2020. Now, before we take a look at the charts, important reminder that trading and investing can be extremely risky business. Therefore, it's your responsibility to evaluate any information, opinion, advice, or other content contained in this video. So what is the China Trade Index? Well, it's a proprietary index put together by CNBC of stocks that are the ones to watch in regards to affairs with China, especially the trade deals. And today is a historic day on several levels with a very important trade deal phase being agreed upon, signed to, etc. So I wanted to take a look at the stock components in this China Trade Index, as you can see here on the right, and look for any stocks that are perhaps not yet on the up move from this information, meaning there's room for them to dip lower before a potential good buy setup, or they're just starting to turn higher now. So 4 stocks jump out here. The first is RH. Now, RH has been in a very steady uptrend. And if we start back on the weekly, you can see that it's really rallied strong into the bull resistance power zone. And now with the recent price action, it's been putting in a bit of a flag-like formation, meaning a parallel box versus this upward mast of the flag, if you will. So back to the daily chart. Okay. It is not a flag by the standard technical definition. Why? Because it's too big in proportion to the prior move. That's why I call it flag-like. But what I like about it on the daily chart is that RSI is back in the bull support power zone and price is starting to turn higher. So where I'd watch is this latest lower high. If you can get a closing daily break above 229.55, then that would be a great sign for further move higher. And how far that would extend would depend on what is the actual final low. So that's where market timing comes in, is that we look to see what the actual low is of a new move higher, then take series of highs and lows to project out the next cycle. I'm guesstimating that we could see price action get up to the $275 area, again, depending on where the low finishes out here. All right, the next stock to look at is CMI. So CMI Cummins Inc. Again, let's jump back to the weekly. This chart shows a really big long-term downward correction, slow resumption higher. So this stock's not quite as strong. However, the latest price action is in line with weakening off the bear resistance power zone and already starting to make its way back to support at this old top. When you look at it on the daily chart, you can see that not only is price correcting back towards that support, RSI is coming back to prior oversold levels. So not just the bear support power zone, but prior oversold levels where when those instances of oversold readings were hit, price ended up resuming higher. So I would watch for another push lower potentially. And if it doesn't come all the way down to 167.35, then keep an eye on these highs that have been forming around this past old bottom. So this $175 area is key. If you get a closing break, blue for resistance there, if you get a closing break above those levels, would be a good place to accumulate positions initially for a retest of the 186 high, and then again, potentially an extension from there depending on where the final low settles out, and you can use market timing tools for that. Okay, next up on my list is Walmart. So Walmart is similar to the chart we just looked at of CMI in that it's in this corrective down move. So again, let's start with the weekly. And here you can see that we had a push up with a very long upper spike on the candle that made the intra-week high back in November and have been chopping lower since. Now we are on the weekly just coming back to the bull support power zone. So there's still room for a little bit more downside, but I think it's time to start watching it for potential accumulation. So now I'm coming back into the daily. All right, So the data gets zhuzhed around, so I gotta zhuzh it back. And here we can see that we have this correction that's in place. Again, very similar to CMI, return to the bear support power zone and previous oversold levels. Here though, there's not as quite of a clear, distinct level to watch in terms of old, high or low. Here, I'm watching the 50% retracement, which we're right at, which if you follow all the way back, is near the July highs that are already currently being tested. So for this price action, what I'm looking for is a closing break above the latest daily lower high, 117.37. There you go. And if you get a closing daily break above those levels, I think it's a good sign for a return to 125 at first. Last but not least is SINA. So here's the daily, here's the weekly chart, okay? So I'm showing this in real time as I'm doing it so you can understand the process of checking between multiple time frames, especially for swing trades. And here in the weekly chart, you can see this nice little base forming out. So a base is any accumulation of price action at relatively low levels. So compared to where this was trading, a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, we're at relatively low levels, and the RSI has been continually puncturing the bear support power zone, but price is just starting to kind of fizzle out in terms of downside momentum. So it's starting to accumulate, but it's not quite complete. So at this point, what you'd need to see in order to be confident for an upside break of this base is a closing break on the weekly of 46.85, okay? And when you look at that on the daily, it is probably the same high, but we won't know until we check. Yes, it is. And so a daily break of 46.85 would be the first hint, but I'd want to see that entire week of trading, whenever it happens, stay above 46.85. If that occurs, then I would watch for a short-term pullback to buy for a return to the highs that have clustered back between the $66 area and the $70 area. So this is an entire zone of resistance that I'm marking out here because of so many different highs that have accumulated in that area, especially in the middle of that zone around $68, $69. So that's what I'm seeing on these components of the China Trade Index that are ripe for buying possibility. Make sure you have price action to confirm what you're seeing in momentum, and always consider using market timing to follow the move and get the optimal exit target in your line of sight. All right, catch you next time. You can sign up at himareddy.com/gift to get my hot, timely, actionable updates as soon as I publish right to your inbox.